Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the SoundMAGIC E80 earphones. I'd like to thank Mark from Chaos Distribution for actually sending these out for review. After previously having reviewed the E10s, which I have over here, I was very much intrigued to see what the difference was with the E80s. Now the E10s came at a very affordable £35 price tag, but the E80s come in at £65. Just a £30 price difference, but that's double the price, almost double the price of the E10s, so it will be interesting to see what the differences are. Now the earphones can be found for £65 on amazon.co.uk, link will be down in the description below. I couldn't find them at Amazon USA, but if I do find it in the future I will link it down. I should also mention before going into the review, do check out my written review on my website, which is again in the description. It will go into much more detail than this video review. Now what do you get in this pretty simple box? Well, in the box you get a hard carrying case, which just found like on E10. It's nice to find a carrying case like this, but I would have liked a soft pouch as well for portability. You also get Comply foam tips, T400s medium, small and large, which is excellent to include. It's one of my complaints of the E10s, well, given its price range I didn't complain that much, but it's good to have actual foam tips because it might appeal to a different audience like myself. You also get a shirt clip, which is great, and you get a selection of silicone ear tips, some which are hollow, which are just easier in terms of the ear, and some are a little bit more solid, and you also get dual flange tips. So that is good on the whole. I would have just liked to see that soft carrying pouch just to round it up, but £65 price tag, can't really complain all that much. Now moving on to the build quality. So one of my complaints of the E10s was its straight jack, and it's nice to see the E80s have addressed this. It's not quite right angle jack, so if I get the Dunu Titan ones, you'll see the right angle jack is real right angled. But it's not straight, which is like the E10s over here, it's a slight angle. And it's great to see this because personally it's much better in terms of portability and use. It is 3.5mm and it's gold plated. Now the cable itself, it hasn't changed at all over the E10s, it's just coloured, which is nice. In terms of looks, it looks quite cool and makes it stand out from the crowd, but the actual cable itself hasn't changed, so the microphonics are good. In other words, the cable noise is quite low. In terms of wearing it straight down, you will hear a little bit of cable noise, but when you put it over the ear, then it completely eliminates it. Due to its design, it can be worn straight down or over the ear, which is great. Now the biggest complaint I had in terms of the build quality for the E10s was its cable management system over here, the cable kinch, and again it's the same sort of problem. You really do have to press hard whilst doing it. It's not as easy as other earphones I've come across, and in fact it's one of the hardest ones I've actually come across. So it's just a shame that hasn't been addressed, and it's still the same issue there. Now the earphone's build quality itself is very good. The housing is made out of some sort of metal, which is nice. It does add a little extra weight over the E10s, but it's not considerable to make a massive difference in terms of comfort. I do say that just because, you know, in terms of the comfort, I loved and praised the E10s for their lightweight. These are not just as lightweight as the E10s were. Now, one thing I did miss in terms of the build quality is the left and right indicator. Now, the left and right indicator can be found on the inner part of the earphone over here in white. It's very hard to see, which is a problem, just because over time, if it gets worn out, the writing might come off. Whereas with the E10s, you actually had a color indicator on the side of the earphones like this on the strain relief, where you had a red and blue little indicator here. That's something that I really loved and I really praised them for, but it's a shame that they've actually gotten rid of it over here. I guess for the looks, it makes it look a little cheaper, but in all honesty, in terms of using the earphones on a daily basis, I really would have liked that red and white indicator, especially considering there's no sort of little dot or anything like that, which really gives you the impression of what's left and right. Now the overall looks of the earphones is really good. I really like the cable, as I mentioned, and the actual like brushed aluminium kind of look on the earphones housing is very well done, so the paint and coat is very nice. They also sit very nicely in your ear and don't sort of stick out as flashy earphones or cheap earphones, so I really like that as well. Now moving on to the isolation. Now isolation of the earphones on the E10s were decent, and the E80s are equivalent. They don't really block out that much noise, but in terms of the overall job, they do quite well. Finally, we're going to move on to the very much important part of the sound quality. Now, the sound quality was very interesting to me because I had to directly compare them to the E10s, which is something that I wanted to do, just because, you know, they're the younger brothers, which I have over here, the E10s. But then I also wanted to compare it to something that's a little bit more expensive, the Dunu Titan ones. They sit around £90, 80, 90 pounds. And then my all-time favorite earphones for under 50, 60 pounds, the Fisher Audio Consonants. So at the time when I reviewed these, a couple of years ago, I must say, these earphones were the best you could buy. Now it's very hard to find these. I don't think you can find them new anymore. The Consonants are version 1s, not the version 2s. And you can see, look, they've been through a lot with me. You know, in terms of their cable, they've gone through a hell of a lot. I've even got super glue all over one of the earphones because they were coming loose in terms of the wire. So this really sits in the same price category as this, but these can't be found. So it's a bit hard to compare it to this, but I just want to make it mark it as a reference, because at the time when I reviewed these Consonants, they really were the best, and till this day I've yet to find an earphone that can really compete in its price range. Now the sound quality over the E10s was incremental. That's the best way I can describe the E80s. They took the same sort of sound qualities or sound traits as the E10s, but improved on it very marginally. So starting with the low end, so the sub bass was equivalent to the E10s. There was barely any sub bass extension, which was a shame to find. And in terms of the actual mid bass slam, it was completely different. With the E10s, I felt it was uncontrolled and it was very overwhelming, especially for the mids. But for the E80s, I felt that it had much more control and didn't really overwhelm the mids at all. It was just right. So I really liked the mid bass response, the improved mid bass response of the E80s over the E10s. But it depends in terms of your taste, in terms of how much bass you like, but these were much more neutral sounding. Which moves me on to the mids. The mids were much less recessed, which was great, but it still had that sort of sinking feeling from the mid bass to the mids. It felt that something was just lacking there, and just felt like it was lacking just that extra bit of that tonality that you'd like. So it's just a shame that the mids didn't really shine through that much, despite it being a bit more neutral sounding and a bit more flat toned than the E10s. Now the highs were definitely great, just like the E10s. I really felt they did a really good job. They extended very well, and on top, you know, they had a nice sparkle, which was overall great experience. Now its soundstage was what really surprised me of the E80s. They sounded so much more open, so much more less congested, let's put it that way, and just a lot better in terms of separation, the width and the depth of the music. It's made a huge difference in terms of the overall listening experience, whereas the E10s felt congested, but again, you know, price tag, you can kind of excuse it, but the E80s just felt just that little bit better, which was great to hear. You know, in terms of the comparison between the E10 and E80s, I would say that it's just a little incremental upgrade, and on top of that is more of a neutral sounding earphone. It's not a neutral sounding earphone, but it's more of a neutral sounding earphone than the E10s, which were very V-shaped and very warm sounding. So it's very much a different sort of sound, but the sound signature is quite similar. But again, you know, as I said, the Soundstage will probably make you think they're two completely different earphone brands. And that's probably just due to the housing of the earphones themselves. Just metal and plastic can make a lot of difference in terms of the resonance within the chamber of the driver. So overall, guys, I think these earphones were good. They're not amazing. They're not earphones that I would jump out and say, you know, get the Dunu Titan ones, get the FA Consonants straight away, or even get the E10 straight away for its price tag. These earphones just felt like, yeah, they're good. You know, if I had to recommend an earphone within a price tag, I'd probably recommend these because they can be found, you know, reasonably easily in comparison to the Fisher Audios. But they're not earphones that I'll just go like, wow, you got to buy this right now, it's amazing. Whereas, you know, with the Dunu Titan ones and FA Consonants, that's exactly my thoughts were, even upon first impression. So there we go, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. If you have, make sure you give it a like, comment and subscribe, as it always helps. And definitely subscribe if you want to see more. Again, check out my website for the full written review. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed with the SoundMAGIC E80 earphones. Take care guys, Totally Dubbed out. Bye bye.